Right. Um, huh. Sorry, I was having some technical difficulties today. We'll just go like that for now. Actually, I am going to exit and well, yeah, I'm gonna have to reset some things and try again. Um, let's do that. Okay, I think we're back. Sorry for some of the delays in getting started. Um, this show is going to be about the developer experience. So, my name is Jason. Just a few things to get started here. I am looking at what I consider elements of developer experience while learning to use new libraries, new SDKs, new APIs. um, it's not always easy to create something that a technical audience can use effectively, because we all come with our own baggage, so to speak. And sometimes it really just takes effort, regardless of what level of experience you have. Most likely, something is new. So you could be a Python developer for 15 years, yet maybe never have done a data science application. Or you could be a full stack web developer who's built all kinds of things, but maybe they were public websites and you just never had to solve authentication. So I think there are pockets of knowledge that we have. And so part of the goal of the show is to explore new technologies, but also see what that onboarding experience is like. So if anyone joins us today, or watches this video on demand later, a couple of things just to keep in mind from a code of conduct. Please be kind. It is hard work. People put a lot of energy and effort into this. I may make some comments about things that I don't like, or maybe critical about the way something was designed. Um, that's not meant to be disparaging of the work that went into it. It is really in the spirit of being more growth oriented and saying, hey, this is something that maybe is something we shouldn't repeat, or it wasn't effective for me. Maybe it was effective for others, but it might be an area of improvement. A couple of other elements when starting with a new tool or library, taking a page from communications and marketing, about the idea of really getting your point across quickly. Um, Really, in developer experience, we might look at a metric like time to hello world, basically saying, hey, maybe 3 seconds to understand what it's for, 30 seconds to find an entry point, 3 minutes to really create an account or download the library and execute a call and see results. Super aggressive time frame, 3 minutes. I tend to say at least 30 minutes. Heck, if it takes 3 hours, if it's something I feel pretty confident I want to use, that's not an unreasonable amount of time. But certainly, the longer it takes or the more it feels unnecessary to onboard, the less likely you might be to recommend it. So, some of the terminology you may hear me throw around: friction logging, customer zero, user centered design, and there are lots of other concepts, but I've covered those in some of the other shows. So, go watch those. Today, I just kind of wanted to highlight a little bit around developer choice, and really thinking through, when you think about developer experience, and it's, well, how do you choose which technology to use or not use on a particular project? In some cases, if you work for a company, you might just be simply told to use a specific solution. I've been in that scenario as well, and it doesn't matter how terrible the solution is. Effectively, some executive leader probably paid a lot of money to get a contract and use something, and so you may not have a choice. Or there may just be a technical lead who has reasons that you may or may not understand, but basically, you may choose a technology through coercion, effectively. The other way, which is probably most common, is asking peers or coworkers for suggestions. But you may also say, okay, well, let's just search the internet. That's not dissimilar from asking a peer or coworker for suggestions. It's just, instead of a peer or coworker you know by name, it's a stranger on the internet with an opinion. So, with that in mind, making that actual choice, it could be, hey, whatever the first thing that actually solves the problem and I can get working, I'm done. That's much more in line with, sort of economic principles of satisficing, right? So the first thing that meets your needs, you're done. You're done with search. What technologies to choose? More common, you might see a little bit more of an evaluation. I've been in that situation a number of times where I say, well, I'm going to evaluate at least three options, and then I'll pick the best fit of those three. Hopefully, I can get all three working, but that's not always guaranteed. And that's why, if your developer experience is not on point, and if I can't get it working, chances are you're not going to make that final list, right? So, in any case, likewise, when thinking about an onboarding experience, it isn't uncommon to also have someone come in and say, I'm going to learn for future use. I may or may not have a project actively right now, but when I do, it's good to know how to use a hammer when you encounter a nail. So, that is also, I think, an idea. And that's one of the spirits, I think, of some of the show as well, is that a lot of times I'm learning some of these things, which I may have some ideas of how I might be using it in the near term future, but it might also be something I just file away and say, well, it's not for this project, but some future project it could be useful. So, the schedule of the show, apologies for getting started just a little bit late, just checking the clock there, but generally shooting for around 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. And I know it's New Year's. Happy New Year. If you're watching this later, I hope you had a good one and did something else on that day. I just thought I'd get right back at it. I was working on a project anyway, so I thought I would turn on the camera and share my screen as I'm testing out a new library. I am sending this on both Twitch and YouTube, and for the most part, if you go to developerxp.com, that's where you can find me publishing just at least a little bit of an overview of what some of the future ones are coming. You can also see that on YouTube. Twitch, I still need to play with the API to update the schedule there, but for the most part, YouTube or developerxp.com, or if you just stumble in live on Twitch, welcome. With that all in mind, I am going to be looking at Daisy UI. I don't know anything about Daisy UI per se. I've been working on Svelte, or working with Svelte on a few recent projects, and there was a thread online about different UI or UX kits that are helpful and play nice with Svelte. And some of them I've never tried. But I was sort of surprised that a number of people kind of chimed in and said, oh, I like this one, or oh, I like that one. So hence this goes back to developer choice. Effectively, I can go build and roll my own components in a project, and very frequently probably will need to do that. But sometimes it might be handy to have a toolkit out there that can be used. So I don't know how well this is going to go, because I don't know anything about Daisy UI yet. If I get there and it turns out you have to pay $5,000 to use the UI kit or something like that, that might end the show rather rapidly, because I am not working with a budget on this next project of mine. So, anyways, point being, let's go give it a try. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this. I need to pop up the browser, and I will make this a little bit bigger so that you can see a little bit easier. I still do need to, I'll use this opportunity to sort of say as well. If you're watching this later or you tune in live, if you have any comments or suggestions to make this a little bit more interesting, please feel free to comment in. Um, Try to do so respectfully. I'm not looking to acquire any trolls, um, but if there's some element that would make it more readable or whatever the case may be, just definitely let me know. Um, and I anticipate in the upcoming shows, maybe not in the next couple weeks, but I will probably be inviting a few additional guests and playing with the format just a little bit more now that I've gotten a little bit more experience under my belt. So first off, what is Daisy UI? Um, okay, so the first result and maybe the second are probably good uh, elements. This may not be dissimilar from, this is from 5 months ago, but not dissimilar to like a community thread. It's like, hey, someone's trying to make a decision between Daisy and Skeleton. They could go off and do their own evaluation. But sometimes that takes time. And if you need to make a decision today on what to use, effectively you're flipping a coin. So I flipped the coin and Daisy UI came up heads or tails in the case may be. So Tailwind CSS components library, presumably. I'm guessing this is the GitHub repository. It seems to have a lot of forks and a lot of stars. Might tell me a little bit more about who the individual that created it was and who else has contributed to it. It does look like there are a lot of backers, which is great. But this bills itself as the most popular free and open source component library for Tailwind CSS. And that's a good point. This does not necessarily have anything to do with Svelte per se. It is just about, hey, I've been using Tailwind in a lot more projects as well. Again, kind of that idea that a lot of people in the community have emphasized it quite a bit. And now I'm looking for something that maybe helps accelerate building some common components that more or less, maybe I need to customize them a little bit, but generally I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel in some cases. So there's that, but it looks like there is an official website as well. And here we go. So it looks like there's at least 4 versions of it, which is interesting on a public roadmap. That, to me, right off the bat, gives a little bit of this validation. So I think in terms of evaluating a developer experience, whether it's an open source project or a commercial vendor, some similar things come to mind. Just taking a peek around this website, I can jump right over to the docs. It looks like installation probably would be where I would start. Components, buttons, drop downs, carousels, breadcrumbs. A lot of the standard kind of components that seems like most folks are gravitating to. I can see there a theme generator. That's interesting. I don't know what this is, but okay. So it seems like, if I wanted to, customize just a little bit here, maybe that generates a configuration file for me. Let's see, go back here a second. There is a blog. I do tend to like going to blogs and trying to get a sense of when the most recent comments were. So here we go, how to install Svelte Kit with Daisy, published last month, which is, reasonably current. So I may actually end up following the instructions here as opposed to official docs, but because I'm going to guess they're probably pretty similar, just a little bit more precise. Looks like there's it's up on StackBlitz, a repository example. It's nice to see. But I lost that blog post. There we go. Let's open up another tab just for a moment. So the fact that I'm seeing a store here suggests a way that the author maybe looking for income, which is a perfectly fine thing to do, but just to get a sense of what this is. So if I'm an agency and I just want to get a landing page, it looks like I can buy. Maybe this is just assembling the components into a package. So I could just buy the whole package. Is that the idea? Right. Like, so I was, recently looking at authentication and user management, right? Login page, sign up page, password recovery, form inputs, things like that. So, for $20, if that saves me a day or two of development, you know, depending on what my objective was, if I'm trying to get something up and out and delivered fast, maybe that's worth the time and money. Same, like getting a nice dashboard piece together, that can save quite a bit of time, then it might be worth it. Um, if my objective is actually just to learn a little bit more about the technology and how it works and how I might use it in a future project, then suddenly that becomes less compelling. Somewhat, the journey is the point. But this, I think, is a fair point. Um, yeah, what I am looking for. So, I mean, I think this is just validating a few of the things I was expecting, right? Customizable with Tailwind, utility classes, but also components I can just use. Just to get a peek, I didn't actually look at any of the components, but what do they look like? I don't anticipate any surprises here, but okay, so like drop down menus. Um, and I think I see this in a lot of the UI libraries now too. Um, you can go and take a peek at this, try it out in a couple of different settings. So you can really get a feel and be like, yeah, this is exactly the one I need. And then you just know which one to get and what settings to use with it. So that all seems reasonable. But let's go ahead and give this an installation attempt. So I'm going to come over here into my IDE. So I have not started a Svelte project yet, but more or less that is what I'm going to have to do. So let's go ahead and do that. And then I'm just doing a skeleton project. TypeScript. I don't need to add anything else. Okay. Whoops. I'm actually going to move. Well, forget it. I could do my npm install now, but I do need to get Tailwind and everything set up. That seems like this is doing that for me, so maybe I'll just go ahead and do that instead. And then initialize Tailwind. This all seems pretty typical of what I would expect. All right. And then let's edit the Tailwind config. Let's see. Kind of like this presentation a little bit. I mean, it's supposed to. I mean, it's supposed to indicate a diff, and the colors make that kind of clear. I don't, I don't know, as opposed to just the font being a different color. But yeah, HTML Svelte, JSTS, that seems right. And so I guess this is the key here, is that it does require a plugin for, oops, Daisy UI. So that's the first Daisy UI specific difference. Everything else I've done, configuring Tailwind and creating a brand new app, that's pretty typical. And then let's see, plugin svelte. Do I need to do this? Let's take a peek. Yeah, no, that's already done. I've seen this instruction in a couple cases. It must be just that the Tailwind init takes care of that now, and that's not really a necessary step. But we probably do want. Well, let's see, what's this? What's Tailwind CSS? I don't. That's not the way I usually see things, I should say. In any case, I'm going to go ahead and add my layout here. But I'm going to make a little bit of a modification here. Yeah, that all seems fine. But yeah, instead of, maybe this is, it has an opinion to create a Tailwind CSS directory. Well, it's not relative to lib. So where is it actually relative to in this project? I don't think it matters. So what I'm instead going to do is just do an app CSS here. Or wait, not in lib, but in source. And then I can just, is that path correct? I don't know. So let's just find out. Let's make sure everything's installed real quick, and then npm run. Oops, no. Yeah, what was it again? It was just here, run dev. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. So I put in the app CSS. There's nothing there yet, which is fine. Let's go back to the instructions. All right. Now I think we're at the point where it's okay. Add a Daisy UI button. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do that on my page. Take a peek. So this is the button. I guess so. Button primary. So let's just take a peek. Let's just go over here in the docs just to see. So button primary color. Right, so it's just like this. So I could choose just out of curious. So button outline. So it seems to me that, maybe a button's not the right way to go. Oh, this interesting one. Button glass. What does that look like? Oh, it lets you see through a little bit, like a translucency. Square buttons, circle buttons. So what is button square? So like if I were to go here and say button square, or maybe button round to be more dramatic. Hmm. That does not seem to do what I was thinking it would. Button, oh, button circle. That's what it is. Button, not round. Button circle. Hmm. So, another good developer experience principle is, of course, being able to um, get beyond the hello world and actually do some things productive. But also, if something's not behaving in the way you anticipate, becomes a um, opportunity to see more of the errors and debugging type tools. So in some ways, it's actually, I think, a lot very valuable to like screw things up early, because then you can actually go and try to get a sense of what's going on. So um, there's nothing. I wouldn't expect any like errors per se, but I just thought I would check anyway. Um, so button circle. Oh, but this puts an SVG in the middle. Is that the? Or is it because I'm missing button outline? How's this supposed to work? Well, that's not. Then what's the difference between button circle and button square? If the difference is really being handled in the SVG, unless I'm missing something, right? So this is circle, square. So maybe there's something else wrong here, right? Because it's just a circle button, right? Like I'm expecting this, but that's not what I'm seeing. Um, okay, that's an icon at the start. So here's another example where the icon is really just all completely SVG. So there's not a whole lot this is actually adding, right? Let's go ahead and let's try this one. Yeah, so something's not right here. I don't. So this does not seem. So something else is wrong, right? Did I miss a step here? No, easy right. I followed the instructions. Yeah, I did this. I, did not use the same location. Yeah, there's something else going on here. Okay, so let's skip over that. Let's go and look at the install real quick. We've installed it. We've got the plugins defined. So that was both right. So here's the Stack Blitz one again. Let's try something similar here just to see if it's in my environment. So like this loading spinner. Let's take that. Oops, it was over here. And then if we go routes page, okay, so that's working. Whoops. But it's not working in my local environment. So something else is missing, clearly. So let's see if I can figure out what that is. So I'm going to move this over here for a moment. Let's start with the Tailwind config. How about that? There's my IDE here. So if I'm looking at Tailwind config, plugins require Daisy UI. That seems fine. Content, HTML. Yeah, I don't see anything unusual there. What else do we got? There's the post CSS config requiring Tailwind and auto prefixer. That seems fine. And there's a little bit of variation here as opposed to what I got with the latest. What about this? Do I need to actually set up my app CSS? So that's actually an interesting example because this is using app CSS, even though that blog's post was saying Tailwind CSS in a folder of its own. Okay, so that's what it was. The blog post missed this step. This app CSS definitely needs to pull in the Tailwind based components and utilities. So that's what was missing. So I would say I'm at Hello World. I might explore this just a little bit in the next maybe 5 minutes or so, and then probably call it, and then go continue to work on my own without streaming the rest of this. But I think this is another good lesson in terms of developer experience. I did find a blog post, so I thought maybe this is more recent and might be a better set of instructions than even the primary docs per se. But it did lead me astray, right? Like there was a missing step in the instructions. And because of that missing step, it wasn't working. And then it required me to go and do a bunch of debugging to figure it out. And it wasn't easy to debug either, right? I mean, it's not like there was an error message or anything like that. And it wasn't clear where the configuration was. Now, actually, maybe I should actually go and, I've said that, but where the instructions there, it might have actually been there. No, it's just I didn't follow the instructions properly. But let's just take a peek. This happens. I could also contact the author and just sort of say, hey, it's probably one of the maintainers, creators of the library, and just say like, hey, what you're doing is amazing, but I ran into a problem. Here's how to fix it. Just a small detail. So yeah, so I think it's like this step 4 here feels like could just, instead of echoing out to a file, could just very simply have the two separate updates. So minor detail. I'm sure I've made mistakes as well. So maybe I'll just point it out if I can find contact information. Um, but otherwise, it seems like the app, I'm going to leave StackBlitz now. I don't need that. Um, Things are now working, which is good. And so before signing off, I'm just going to take a peek at what some of these other things look like, and then I can decide. Does this? I'm probably going to be doing a little bit more of an evaluation. So this is Daisy UI. There's also Skeleton, Melt, Flowbyte. Um, I think Shad CDN. Um, there's maybe a few others. So I'm probably going to go take a peek at them. And yeah, I don't think anything requires Felt. Like this seems like with JSX here, probably just as useful for React developers as well. But I think the reason I might have to do some of the evaluation together is, yeah, I've just got strangers on the internet saying, I like this and I like that. Um, but it's not clear what the differences are, right? Like, does this have some components that the others don't? Or is it easy to go and take, this hero component and, customize it? Presumably with Tailwind, I can just add additional classes and do some customization, which is nice. But like, if I want to change, the button primary and how it behaves, is that a thing I would want to do? I don't know. But um, maybe this has more layouts than one of the other ones. I don't know. That's kind of fun. Does it actually have like mock-up components? So you can, yeah. One of the things I am looking for, yeah, so it's always good to be very clear on requirements as well. Part of the evaluation I might be doing with some of these is I am looking for more of a drag and drop graph display type library. Right. So like like three divs with us. If I could drag and drop and move these around, right, and there was a line connecting them, that is a element of something I'm building before building my own custom components. And then that's the trade-off is, okay, if I have to go build that myself, is that going to take me a day? Is it going to take me 2 days? I don't know. If I have to go find a library that can do it, is it going to take me, how long is it going to take me to find that library? A day, 2 days, and see if it, gives me the right things. But anyways, okay, so indicators, here it is, footers, pop-up drawer. Text areas. Okay. Skeleton. I suppose another way of evaluating this, of course, is documentation as well. Right. So skeleton is a component that could be used to show a loading state of a component. Okay. Um, yeah. Making sure that everything is clear and understandable. Especially if I say, oh, I'm sold, I'm going to start using this on my next project, 8 hours into building something to have to like rip it all out and switch to something else, can be very problematic. But okay, I think for the most part I get a sense of what this guy has. It does seem rather straightforward. Um, it seems like um, the class names are intuitive. I might have liked a prefix so that I can card title. I might have my own card component in a project. So if I were to try to pull in Daisy, I can imagine conflicts and things like that. So sort of a naming prefix. I'm splitting hairs a little bit, but I think that's part of evaluating whether something is going to work in your project or not. But this does definitely give me a good feel for what to expect here. So, and it looks like a little bit more for me to play with and experiment with. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks for joining me, or thanks for watching this later. I think that gives me a good feel for Daisy UI. I was able to get it to installed and working in a quick project off the bat. I'm going to experiment with it some more and try to build out a little bit something a little bit more flushed out, and then maybe I'll schedule some time to do a little bit of a playground opportunity with some of the other libraries. So happy new year, and hope things are getting off to a good start for you. So thanks. Have a good day.